Hello and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. There is so much that we should talk about today. I want to begin with a reflection on the fires that are gripping Southern California, the Los Angeles area, Pacific Palisades. Horrific, unbelievable, and tragic. We are going to do a lot nationally to have to help the people of Southern California to recover from this catastrophic event. I wanted to mention that at the outset because I believe it is a major story, but more than that, a major tragedy. But I want now to focus on what we do on Around the Political World with John Rothman, and that is to focus on national affairs. Yesterday, I watched for a little more than an hour as the President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, spoke at a press conference. I listened with great care, and I must confess, with great trepidation. I do not desire to make this podcast an analysis each day of Donald J. Trump. But it is necessary that we do confront what Donald Trump says. Theodore Roosevelt called the presidency of the United States a bully pulpit. We know that president after president have used the bully pulpit of the presidency to articulate what they want to accomplish and how they want to achieve their goals. Here we are, just a few days out from the inauguration of Donald Trump as president for a second term, and we are already confronting something that I never imagined would be possible. I alluded to it yesterday. I spoke yesterday about 5 particular things that disturbed me, but I want now to talk about that press conference. Donald Trump said that Greenland was important for America's national security, and therefore the United States could and should control Greenland. The response of Denmark, the nation which controls Greenland, was no, absolutely not. And yet Donald Trump continues to extend a threat, indeed a military threat, against Greenland. And let's talk about the Panama Canal. We remember vividly the debates during the Carter administration over the Panama Canal Treaty. I can still hear in my mind Ronald Reagan speaking clearly and saying, "We bought it, we paid for it, it's ours." And I nearly said Donald Trump because he's saying the same thing. We bought it, we paid for it, it's ours. But it isn't. There is a deal with Panama, and I listened yesterday with great care as Donald Trump spoke about China controlling the Panama Canal. May I see evidence, please, of that? I haven't. I've researched it. I've looked it up. I've talked to people involved. Panama controls the Panama Canal. Now, the debate over the Panama Canal was a legitimate debate, and Ronald Reagan and Phil Crane and others absolutely opposed giving, as they put it, the Panama Canal back to Panama. And indeed, as I may have reflected with you, when the turnover took place, no member of the administration, in those days, the Clinton administration, would participate in the handover. And so Jimmy Carter was dispatched to make that monumental moment happen officially. I must say to you that any threat against the Panama Canal with the use of military force, well, it's something we better pause and think about. And the same thing applies when Donald Trump calls it not the Gulf of Mexico, but the Gulf of America. These are saber-rattling moments. And why do I say saber-rattling moments? Because I heard Mark Esper, the former Secretary of Defense in the Trump administration, talking about the fact that these would require military action. It's astounding to me that we are at this point. And by the way, what about Canada? Canada is a sovereign nation, and yet President Trump not only continues to call for its annexation to the United States, but he continues to call the outgoing Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Trudeau, Governor Trudeau. He's not governor, he is Prime Minister of Canada. It's true he's leaving office, and Donald Trump proudly proclaimed that he is responsible for Trudeau's decision to step out as Prime Minister. These facts are very interesting to me because Donald Trump is going to be President of the United States of America. And what he says will matter. And what he does is going to have tremendous significance. Now, am I concerned? The answer is yes. First of all, I believe that Greenland is not part of the United States, nor does it need to be. Oh, it's true. Years ago, there was an offer made to buy Greenland. It was turned down. There is no way that Denmark is going to give up Greenland, nor should they. And of course, when it comes to the Panama Canal, we've debated that issue. By the way, I have books written during that great debate over whether or not to cede the Panama Canal to Panama. And you can go back and read them and understand all the arguments, and I'm sure Donald Trump has not read those books. And as for the question of whether or not Canada should be part of the United States, my dear friends, if a referendum were held in Canada, I think it would be overwhelmingly rejected. Don't you? And as for the Gulf of Mexico being renamed the Gulf of America, there is something jingoistic about what Donald Trump is saying. But more than that, it is irresponsible for the President-elect of the United States, the man who will soon sit in the Oval Office to make these kinds of statements. And I'm just scratching the surface. We could talk about what he said about Ukraine. We could talk about what he said about the Middle East. Let me just quickly point out that he says if all the hostages are not released by the time he takes office on January 20th, well, he's threatening massive action. He doesn't say what it is, but there is no doubt that Donald Trump is determined. So we are going to watch this carefully, and we are going to talk about it, and we are going to demonstrate to you when he says something that is constructive, and also when he says something that isn't. So today, we are keeping our eyes on what Donald Trump says and does. We're also keeping our eyes on what's happening in Southern California. All of these issues and more will be discussed right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. Thanks for tuning into another episode. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, as you know, is our goal. You can interact with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or you can email me. And I do value everything you say. And by the way, those of you who see me here in San Francisco and talk to me, thank you for all the feedback. I appreciate it. And to Gogo Zoger, who produces this program every single day, thanks, Gogo. I am John Rothman. I will be back tomorrow, Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.